Hello. Once upon a time, in election campaigns, I can remember it, the candidates and particularly the leaders of the parties spoke of foreign policy and debated foreign policy. They talked about labour laws. They talked about the health service. They endlessly agonised over nuclear armaments. These are things that affect the lives of all of us, blanket across the nation. Nuclear armaments are very important, either for our safety or our destruction. The health service, of course, to which we're all entitled, labour laws, to which we're all entitled, and foreign policy, which affects the progress and the health of our country. Now, all the candidates are discussing is whether or not women have penises. Right. Okay, so I'm going to read this article here. It's from the Telegraph. MPs who believe women have a penis will be named and shamed ahead of the general election. Now, that's a good idea. Before I carry on, I'll tell you who I am. I'm Granniopteryx. I'm on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute and Minds. All the links are in the description, as are links to Twitter and Gab, where I let you know when I upload new videos, and any donation channels you might care to access. But if you don't want to do that, you don't need to go to the description. All you have to do is click the like button and then share the video, subscribe to my channel. If you're on YouTube, better click that bell icon or they won't tell you. But you can also, as I say, subscribe to my Twitter and Gab. All right, let's talk about Sharon Davis. What a marvellous woman she is. A new website will allow voters to instantly... I'm going to have a go at the Telegraph again. Oh, how our standards dropping. To find out instantly. I know split infinitive's a Latin thing, but it still sounds wrong. Voters to find out instantly whether their MP thinks women must be born female. And then it says MPs who believe women have a penis will be named and shamed ahead of the general election, the Telegraph can reveal. I'm going to beep out that word for the first few instances of this, because there's a YouTube thing. I don't know whether they're still doing it, but it said if naughty words turn up in the first 2 or 3 minutes of a video, then it's in trouble. So I'll beep it out later on. It'll probably come back and won't be beeped. But yeah, just so you know, an army of volunteers, oh, sign me up, in an apolitical new grassroots campaign is gearing up to meet all MPs and parliamentary candidates at hustings events and on their doorsteps to ask each one the question, what is a woman? Can you imagine that? And then they're going to video it. And we're going to see how many prospective MPs tie themselves in knots or lie. That's also important. I have an idea that a lot of them will be lying. Anyway, it'll allow voters to find out instantly whether their next MP thinks women must be born female and that binary biological sex cannot be changed, or whether they believe that male-born transgender women are women too. Look, I know there are at least a couple of people watching my videos who are transgender. I used to have a friend who was transgender. She moved out of the country. I lost touch with her. To all intents and purposes, in my opinion, a transgender woman looks like a woman, and as long as that person acts like a woman, I am prepared to accept as a woman, but not if I were a doctor. Or not if I were. Now there are some situations, for instance, prisons, where a proper transgender woman would suffer in a male prison. But so long as that person looks like a woman in all respects, I think, unless there's some serious psychological problem there, they should also be treated as women. But that's not the sort of person I'm talking about, is it? And we all know that. It's the sort who is a man, quite an ugly man, who then usually puts on a wig and some lipstick and a skirt and says he is a woman. Now, I want to talk to you about the Equalities Act, because that is the problem altogether. That's what's causing the trouble. It's called the Equality Act. In my opinion, it should be more likely entitled the Equity Act. And I just want to explain the difference between equality and equity is that two people are given the same starting point and no impediments on the way. And in equity, one person is put ahead of the other, so has a better chance of reaching the goal. That's basically what equity is. Now, I'm going to take off on that. Do you know that famous cartoon? I'll try and find it, where it shows three kids of different heights, and they're standing on boxes to see over a fence at a baseball match or something. And that's supposed to show what proper equality, i.e. equity, really is. And nobody thinks, for instance, that the really small kid on top of the three boxes that enable him to see over the fence, that kid is at great risk of falling off those boxes. And a lot of people have to pile up those boxes and then put him up there because there's no way he could get up there. The whole thing is complete nonsense. Anyway, I digress. Our intellectually superior civil servants apparently don't know the difference between equality and equity. So the Equality Act is now basically the Equity Act. Oh, come back, Sir Humphrey. We miss you. All right, back to the Equality Act. The thing about the Equality Act is that it came up with this concept of protected characteristics. Basically, it's a law which said that if you can convince any government department you're a victim of something, then you're issued with a get out of jail card. And one of the cases in point here I found is an article in The Guardian. Here we are. And this is from last year. It's February 2023. And it's just, I'm not going into the article, I'm just showing it to you. And this is The Guardian. Thursday briefing, billions over budget, years overdue, no one knows what will happen to HS2. The thing about HS2, for those outside Britain, it's a high-speed rail link that was supposed to go from London to Birmingham to Manchester. And it's a complete mess. And it's been dragging on for years and really, literally, billions over budget. And this is the reason why. This is in the HS2 manifesto. Equality and diversity. Purpose. Our equality, diversity and inclusion policy addresses the need for inclusion in our workforce and the planning, design, construction and operation of the High Speed 2, which means this. You have to go through all sorts of lists of whom you are employing before you even employ them. And that includes the architects, the designers, the construction industry. I'd like to see you get 50% women on those heavy machines there. Well, actually on the shovel and bucket brigade. And operation of the High Speed 2. Well, of course, that's like chasing rainbows. You'll never get to the end of that, will you? So that, hang on a minute, I'm trying to get the other article back. Here we go. So that's the problem with the transgender issue, because they have managed to become a protected characteristic. And so the law is in all sorts of knots over that. Now, I've strayed a long way from Sharon Davis and her brave and much needed campaign. So I'll just get back to that for a minute. Sharon Davis, the former Olympic swimmer and feminist campaigner who's been appointed as the campaign's first ambassador, said it would let voters know if their MP will stand up for women. Now, I want to point something else out here. This is a grassroots campaign. It's all sorts of women from all sorts of political parties, although I suspect it will be a little more on the Conservative side, but that's not for want of asking. But they are doing this without the political parties, which are actually the ones that are supposed to be supporting them. This is people doing it for themselves. Anytime you get a Labour Party spokesman, and they're doing it all the time, so you wouldn't have to wait long, saying, oh, we are the only people who can lift the working classes out of poverty or out of ignorance or out of something else. It's just not true. No political party can do this. Yes, we can make labour laws, but basically, people have to do it for themselves because politicians have too many, well, you might say vested interests in staying in the club. And unfortunately, the Labour Party is the worst offender here, which is very interesting. It says here the trans debate is likely to be one of the fiercest battlegrounds of the 2024 general election, with many MPs, especially on the left, in a muddle over the definition of a woman. And as I said, they talk about Keir Starmer and that famous... should I play it again? Yeah, hang on a minute. I'll just stop here. I'll stop myself here. And I'll play what Sir Keir Starmer said in an interview. So hang on.
Is it transphobic to say only women have a cervix?
Well, it is something that shouldn't be said. It is not right. But Andrew, I don't think that...
So Rosie Duffield should not have said that. Can you explain to people watching why she should not have said that?
Well, Andrew, I don't think that we can just go through various things that people have said. Rosie Duffield, I spoke to Rosie earlier this week and told her that conference was a safe place for her to come, and it is a safe place for her to come. And I spoke to others to make exactly the same principle. We do everybody a disservice when we reduce what is a really important issue to these exchanges on particular things that are said. The trans community are, as I say, the most marginalised and abused of many, many communities, and we need to make progress on the gender recognition.
All right. Well, and then she says, this is not... A source close to the new campaign said, there are an army of grassroots volunteers. The campaign will ask every single parliamentary candidate of all parties a simple question: what is a woman? We will record their responses or prevarications. This is not about lecturing or trolling MPs, far from it. We are apolitical. This is about transparency and honesty. Okay, well, that's... Yeah, I think I've covered everything. So I'll just finish up now by saying good luck to Sharon Davis and her What is a Woman campaign. Good for you. And this is really an example of proper democracy. And the second thing I have to remark is that I can remember a time when you couldn't use the word penis in polite company. Who says we're not making progress? Till next time. Why not treat yourself or a favoured relative or friend to these magnificent examples of merch? The mugs and t-shirts come in the granniopteryx design or Granbo with a firearm or the more deadly knitting needles. Go to www.granniopteryx.com and whatever platform you're watching this on, please click like, subscribe and share.